a red hot rental market, a very strong sales market. Welcome to the third quarter Hoboken market update. What's up, guys? Jeff Bonk here from the HBB Group and eXp Realty here in Hoboken. And today we're going to take a little time, look back on the third quarter of 2021 in Hoboken real estate market, take a look at what changes have happened, what trends we're seeing, and what kind of decisions that really should lead you to when you're considering what you're doing, buying, selling, renting, or investing here in Hoboken, guys. So we had a red hot rental market in quarter three. This started maybe a few weeks into it. We're gonna go rentals first today, then sales. We saw inventory go from 350 active rentals on the market at the beginning of the third quarter down to 80 rentals on the market today. That's right, we saw almost 300 rentals evaporate from our active inventory over the last 2.5, 3 months. For context, we used to live right around 250 on the market pre-COVID. We ballooned up to 850 during COVID, and we slowly started that trickle down in 2021, but absolutely just collapsed in the third quarter. So that obviously led to a lot of other things. Next thing we saw that was huge was the days on market went from almost mid-20s for rentals down to less than 10. We averaged around 8 days on market for a rental. And honestly, guys, that's only because it takes 4 or 5 days to do paperwork. Those would have been gone in the first day or two and marked rented immediately. We mark things rented when we have checks and lease in hands, typically in Hoboken. So that's why you saw a little bit of lag time there. Depending on the sector that you were looking at, 1 bed, 2 bed, 3 bed, what kind of building it was, prices went up just in the third quarter somewhere between 5 and 15%. Now we'll look at some trends of what kind of places we're doing better at, more specifically when we get to sales, but typically larger, more bedrooms and outdoor space is what we're seeing really do well right now for a couple of reasons we'll discuss when we get to sales as well. Just a quarter ago, we saw free months of rent. We saw landlords paying broker fees. That is completely gone, obviously, with how strong the rental market is. We're seeing multiple applications, 2, 3, 4 applications on a property is not uncommon this quarter in Hoboken. So obviously with that kind of demand, free rent's gone, landlords paying fees are gone. We're seeing places being bid up 10, 12% over asking prices. So we're seeing a super red hot rental market. What does this mean, right? This means, one, if you're a landlord, you can absolutely look to increase the rent that you're getting from your property right now, be that with the person who's in place right now or going back to the market. Now, obviously, we're not talking about price gouging here. We're not talking about doing anything that's unfair or any kind of unethical thing, but many landlords will reach out to us and say, hey, what's the state of the market? Can I do a cost of living increase? Can I do something to keep up with inflation and interest rates moving and things like that? And this is a time where the answer would be yes, you could possibly look at increasing rents. The last 18 months, the answer's been no. Keep the tenant in place. Absolutely do not risk going back to the market. Do not do anything to upset a tenant because the market was soft. Now, as the demand grows, if you want to, the answer could be yes, to increase some rents or go back to the market to find a new tenant if your tenant's deciding to leave at the end of the lease. What does this mean if you're a renter? If you're a renter and you're not in a lease that's locked in for the next 6, 12 months and you're going to be either looking at a rent increase or having to go find a new place, do some math on what it would cost to buy a similar type property. Because when the prices went up of rent 10, 15%, that's all straight to your pocket, right? Like you can't mortgage any of that. There's no write-offs there. Take a look at possibly with interest rates still being low in a sales market that's strong, but not as crazy as a rental market, it might make more sense to buy that investment, live in it for a few years, even if you're thinking to move to the burbs in a few years. Take a look at what that means and possibly consider looking at purchasing rather than renting. So that's the rental market, guys. We're going to move on to the sales market, which was not as red hot, but very impressively strong. I just got off another seminar with looking at the entire state of New Jersey, and they were looking at county by county how much volume has increased or decreased in each county this year. The New Jersey as a whole is up 1%. We're up 35% in Hudson County just in volume. Obviously, that's last year in 2020, people were leaving quite dramatically, coming back at the end of 2020. But now in 2021, it's just been rock solid. And there's a few themes we've been seeing as we've been seeing people come back to the Hoboken market and the Hudson County area in general. The first big theme that we're seeing is people want larger, they want more space, they want turnkey as well. We're seeing properties that need work really being pushed to the bottom of the pile because contractors are hard to come by right now with all this velocity, all these buying and selling in the marketplace. Contractors are busy. So if you want to buy a home and hope to renovate it yourself or do some even, minor mid-sized projects before you move in, people know that it's hard to do right now. And if you're moving in, you need that extra space immediately because you're working from home, you're doing some hybrid, or maybe you're out in the burbs, you need to come back because your job's saying it's time to come back to the city or your job in an urban area a couple days a week. You don't have time for that. So we're seeing turnkey and larger places, that third room for that office for the other 2 days a week when you're not going back into the office. We're seeing, because of that larger property being more in demand, we're seeing price points go up. The more volume, more activity we're seeing is in a higher price point. So anything over $1 million, $1.5 million, third bedroom, fourth bedroom, things that are turnkey, things that are easy, we're seeing more activity. Prices are going up slightly and steadily, but the actual transactions are happening at higher price points as well versus lower price points because there's more demand for that style of home given everyone's lifestyle today and what they're doing and what they need the property for. Another thing that we're seeing, this is more the last month or two, we're seeing the amount of offers slow down just a little bit in the second half of quarter three. We're seeing activity go up, but we're seeing activities, lots of showings, lots of open house guests usually result in one solid offer after a few weeks, not the 2, 3, 4 offers we were seeing in the earlier part of the third quarter in the mid to late summer. We're seeing, as we move into the fall, that slowed down a little bit, but still a lot of activity in the marketplace where we're seeing a lot of people out looking, resulting in 1 or 2 very good offers, keeping sales prices, or contract prices very close to asking prices. And just a lot of activity, which tells us we probably have a busy fourth quarter coming, maybe an abnormally busy fourth quarter because people were very busy early third quarter, tapering off a little bit, but still out looking. So we're seeing a lot of that. Back to what we were talking about is higher price points doing better. 7 out of the, 14 weeks in the third quarter, the average price that went under contract was over $1 million. And by comparison, in the second quarter, only 3 were. So we have a price, just another piece of evidence that we're seeing an elevated price point and more activity, more buyers in a price point that's a little bit higher. Now the price is up, the actual square footage, price per square foot is only up about 2 or 3% from last quarter. So we're seeing an increase there, but not enough to kick us over that $1 million price point range just based on price per square foot or the price of the property that's selling versus what it would have sold for. We're seeing that really be dependent on it just being a bigger property and a larger scale property being the ones that are more popular today. And last but not least, we saw inventory decrease by about 5% in the second quarter to the third quarter. So we're seeing slowly more properties come off the market. We are seeing sellers start to list. We're seeing more things come on, but we're seeing them get absorbed a little bit quicker. We're nothing dramatic there, but a nice steady decrease in inventory, giving us around 2 to 3 months inventory in the Hoboken market, which is a very strong market for sellers. And for buyers, it's not terrible, right? We've seen 1 month before, we've seen half a month before. Those are tough markets. Being up 2, 3 months is a reasonably, kind of balanced shading towards the side of seller's market. So what are some takeaways we can have from this, right? What does this mean? And the number one thing, because we're seeing so much demand in higher price point and larger properties, but really strong rental demand across the board, it might not be a bad idea to invest in some lower priced properties in Hoboken if you were looking to dip your toe in, but were worried about returns and cap rates and cash flow. Right now is a time when you can buy a studio or a 1-bed and possibly be able to cash flow on that property or see an elevated cap rate because they're a little suppressed on the sales side. We're seeing more demand on the purchase up top, but we're seeing rents come up across the board. So take a look at that if you ever wanted to invest, or if you're renting right now and you want to buy and then have an investment later, this might be the time to make that decision. And the other takeaway here, guys, is if you're a seller across any price point, don't put your property on the market if it needs work. Take the time, do the work, slow down, find the right contractor. It's hard to find, but if you have the runway to do it, it's way better for your final sales price to do it yourself rather than trying to put it out there and let buyers be worried about how long it's going to take them before they can actually move into the house. It's not always possible. Sometimes people need to move quicker than they really want to, but if you have the runway of a few months and have the time to do the work, put a property on the market that's ready and turnkey. Again, the real estate seminar we got off of a guy who studies the entire economic real estate market of New Jersey said Hoboken and Jersey City has nothing but long long upswing coming. We see more people coming back to urban areas. We see more jobs telling them they need to be in the office 2, 3 days, 4 days a week. So there is no real rush to hit the top of the market in Hoboken. They give a good 18 months, but after that, we don't know. There's an election cycle coming up, right? Interest rates can go all over the place. So there's a lot of things that we can't see out more than a year or two in advance. But all signs right now, guys, is for a very strong rental market, very strong sales market. Let me know if you have any questions. We're always happy to talk about your personal situation. And if you have any questions based on your own living circumstances or your financial situations, what might be the best solution for you, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll see you next month.